So in the last classes, we were looking at top-down parsers and bottom-up parsers. We also looked at a chart parser, which is actually more efficient way of parsing than traditional top-down and bottom-up parsers. Okay, so but unlike in the case of parsers for programming languages, uh, in the case of natural language, sometimes we might have an issue of agreement. Okay, agreement between, say, for example, a noun phrase and verb phrase, and so on. Say, for example, say you have a noun phrase or a phrase like this: the flight does, or the flight does offer what food. The flight does offer food, and you say all flights do offer food, right? So for example, that is what we are trying to say is, in the case of English present tense, third person singular, if you have something which is third person singular, the noun is third person singular, then the verb is, if it is do, it becomes does. And for all other persons, for all the kinds of subjects, you have do. You do, I do, we do, right? But if it is third person singular, it is does. So, so we need actually an agreement between the noun phrase here and the verb. Okay, we need an agreement. That is, they have to match. Otherwise, it is syntactically wrong. These sorts of agreements are not required in the case of programming languages. This is specific to natural languages. So, how can we express this sort of information inside a grammar, in a context-free grammar? Okay, how can we do it? Okay, so one method for doing it is, say we can design one set of grammars for third person singular nouns and another set of grammars for which are not third person singular. Okay, say for example, if you have something like this, if you have a production in your grammar like this, then you are replacing this single grammar rule by two different rules. That is, instead of an auxiliary verb here, you are saying you need a third person singular auxiliary verb, say does, okay, and followed by a third person singular noun phrase. Instead of simply saying noun phrase, you can say third person singular noun phrase followed by a verb phrase. Similarly, you need one more grammar or a production for non-third person singular auxiliary verb, say for example do, and non-third person singular noun phrase. Okay, and then you have to replace third person. You have to say, according to this production, third person singular auxiliary verbs are does, has, can, and non-third person singular auxiliary verbs are do, have, can, and so on. So instead of having a single one, so all the productions, you have to have double number of productions instead of a single set of productions. So that is one way you can actually express these sort of agreements inside our grammar in the natural language. Okay. Now, this grammar is for do all of these flights offer first class service. So it starts with an auxiliary verb, say do, right? Similarly, this is, it could also be does. It is third person singular. Does this flight stop in Dallas? Okay, and so ഇതിന് corresponding ആയിട്ടുള്ള grammar ആണിത്. But the idea here is, instead of having a single production, you have to replace it with two productions, because you need to specify that sometimes when you have a third person singular auxiliary verb, then the corresponding noun phrase also has to be singular, third person singular, and so on. Okay. Okay. Okay, so the problem with the above grammar is that it doubles the size of the grammar. Now, it is not only in matchings like this that this happens, this problem happens. Besides, there are other places where this agreement is required. Say, for example, if you have in a noun phrase itself, earlier what we talked about was, if you have a noun phrase and it is third person singular, its auxiliary verb also has to be third person singular. That is what we said. But look at this noun phrase itself. If it is singular, you have to say this flight. If it is flights, or if it's plural, then you have to say this flights is not correct. You have to say these, right? You need agreement there also. So it is not in the case of noun phrase, verb phrase that you have this agreement required. It's at multiple places that we have to require these sorts of agreements. So how can that be incorporated into the grammar? So one option we saw is to write separate productions for such cases, but that will only multiply the number of productions which are there, and to implement such sort of a grammar will take your the parser will be a lot more complex. So can we look at some other method? So solution to this is to parameterize each non-terminal with features. So this is what is important here. Features. You are going to incorporate features to different constituents of the grammar. You give features to the different constituents of a grammar. That is a solution which is proposed. Okay, this is another place where you need this agreement concept of verb phrase and its subcategorization. So what do we mean by verb phrase? You have a verb along with some complements or some other constituents. So a verb phrase can be a simple verb, say like disappear, or it can be a verb followed by a noun phrase. Say for example, I prefer a morning flight. So prefer is a verb here. Morning flight is a noun phrase because the flight is being described by this morning flight means it goes in the morning, right? So it is describing the flight, so it is a noun phrase. Similarly, you can have other combinations also, a verb phrase followed by a noun phrase and a prepositional phrase. So I leave for Boston in the morning. If that is a sentence, I leave is the verb, Boston is the noun phrase, and in the morning. So in the morning is a prepositional phrase because it starts with a preposition and followed by something else. Okay, you can also have a verb followed by a prepositional phrase. I'm leaving on Thursday. So on Thursday is actually preposition phrase. So you can have different combinations of these. Okay. So these are some of the examples of verb phrases to get an idea of what a verb phrase is. Now, not every verb phrase is compatible with uh, its complements. It's basically verbs have to be compatible with their complements. So not every verb can have every sort of complement. Say for example, I want to fly to Dallas. Okay, want is a verb, to fly to Dallas. That is a complement. But you cannot say I found to fly to Dallas. Found cannot be followed by a to, right? So uh, there are compatibility issues here also. Similarly, you can have transitive verbs and intransitive verbs. A transitive verb is actually a verb which takes an object. Say, for example, uh, he sent a letter. Okay, he sent a letter. So sent is the verb here and it has an object associated with it, right? So such verbs are said to be transitive verb. But there can also be intransitive verbs. I sing or I can sing. He sings. Okay, so that verb it is not, or he sings well. There is no object associated with it. So such verbs are said to be intransitive. So there also again you have compatibility between. So some verbs take objects, that is they need objects to be associated with them. Some do not. So when you look at these, so when you look at verb phrases also, between verbs itself, there might be compatibility issues between the verb and the corresponding complement. Or we have one category is you have transitive and intransitive verbs. That is, the verb can take an object, or the verb it is not necessary that an object is there. So how can you ensure all these constraints or conditions? Okay. Okay, modern grammars actually distinguish as many as 100 subcategories of verbs, and the possible set of complements are subcategorization frames and so on. So basically, you need some constraints when you have sentences. It is not just we need to ensure that it is structurally correct. At the same time, you need to ensure other constraints in those structures also. Unlike in the case of programming languages. Okay. Okay, how can we represent relationship between verb and its complement in a context-free grammar? Like we said earlier, we can have more number of productions. Say, for example, verb phrase instead of being verb followed by what noun phrase, we have to say verb with no complement, verb with a noun phrase as a complement, a verb with a I don't know what these are. Okay, verb with a noun phrase and a prepositional phrases complement and so on. So basically, what we are trying to do is we are trying to increase the productions. Okay, so we want some alternative, and that is where we come to what is known as a feature structure. Okay, feature structure is actually a set of feature value pairs. Okay, that is corresponding to some constituents in the grammar or in the sentence. Let us say noun phrase. We can associate some features. Say, for example, what is the number, whether it is a singular noun or a plural noun. So number can be a feature, and then its value can be singular, okay, or it can be plural, something like that. So this is one of the features. Number is a feature. Similarly, you can look here. We have got examples. Number is a feature. You can have person, can be third person or first person. Okay, that can be a feature. So associating these sorts of features with the constituents of a sentence, with a noun phrase or a verb phrase or a verb complement or a verb itself or a determiner, we can have for each of these constituents we can have a set of features. Okay, so features are atomic symbols drawn from some finite set, and the values are atomic symbols of feature structures themselves. Okay, the values can be either values like this, or it can be a feature like this also, which we will look at examples we will look at later. And a feature structure is represented as an attribute value matrix. Feature 1, what is its value, and so on. So this is an example. You have a category for this particular feature. It's a noun phrase, and number feature is singular, and person feature is third person. So this represents third person singular noun phrase. Okay, so this is how features are represented. Okay, now the feature values can be features themselves too. Sometimes 1 minute. Okay. We have a category, a noun phrase, and we said we want to match. That is, we want to ensure that uh, there is an agreement between the noun phrase and the verb phrase. Okay. We say agreement is a feature, and we say in agreement you have number and person as the sub features. So it is also possible to represent. So what is a noun phrase has an agreement feature and it has number and person. Okay, now agreement feature can be used to compare with the agreement feature of the verb phrase. That is what it is used for. So basically features can have feature structures as values. Okay, now we come to feature path. Path is actually a sequence of features through a feature structure leading to a particular value. Say for example, you start with the agreement feature, and inside agreement feature you have got a number feature, and inside number feature you have got singular as the value. So you can say this is actually a path, right? That is what feature path is about. Okay, in the previous slide we have agreement followed by number, which leads to singular value. Now, this is actually an alternative representation of features using directed graphs. So earlier we said features are actually represented like this as feature value pairs in a matrix format. This is actually another way of representing the same thing. Okay, so in this particular feature value pairs can actually be represented like this. Say from root, you've got two categories. So the features appear as labeled edges in the graph and values appear as a node. Okay, so edges are actually the features themselves. So in this example, we have category and agreement as a features. So category is one feature and agreement is another feature. And agreement itself, you have number as a feature and person as a feature. And finally, at the leaf points, almost like at the leaf points, you have got the actual values. This is another way of representing feature value pairs. Okay. Okay. Reentrant features. Reentrant features means feature structures that share the same node in the graph. It is not the same value, exactly the same node. Say for example, this is one set of feature value pairs represented in a matrix format, and the same thing is represented here, um, but head is missing. Okay, you have got head as the label of this particular what edge. Okay, so if you look at this, uh, look, this particular node can be represented using the path head, head followed by subject followed by agreement. It takes you to this node. Similarly, head followed by agreement also takes you to the same node. So if you are able to represent it like this, then it is known as a reentrant feature structure. Okay. Okay, unification of features. So we said each of the components which make up each of the component structures like noun phrase or noun or verb phrase or all of these can be, we can add features to it. And basically our idea is when you attach features to it, you want to ensure compatibility between features. And okay, so how do we specify it? If you look at this example, okay, so this is a context-free grammar which we have using several symbols. So along with that, we have to specify a set of constraints. Now, how do the constraints look like? That is corresponding to each of these beta i's, which are the constituents of the grammar. You can specify a feature path, and the feature path has to have a particular value, or a feature path has it should be possible for the feature path specified to be unified with either an atomic value or another feature path. So this is how we specify the constraints. Say for example, this is an example. So here you have a production. Sentence is made up of a noun phrase followed by a verb phrase. So this is actually a constraint which is specified. So noun phrase has number as a feature, and the verb phrase also have number as a feature, and these numbers, these features have to be unifiable or compatible. Okay. Okay. So how do we specify agreement? Agreement, that is where we started. Subject verb agreement can be there, that is you can have this flight serves, right? Serves. And similarly you can also have determiner nominal, that is this book or this flight itself and these flights. So this is a determiner and this is a the number, the noun has a number associated with it. So these sorts of agreements, how do we specify? So we have an example here. In the case of 15.8, it is a sentence, right? So we can have that noun phrase agreement has to be compatible with the verb phrase agreement. Okay, so this flight means you should have serves. If it is these flights means you have to have serve. That is what this constraint says. Now this grammar is corresponding to 15.9 and 15.10 because it is corresponding to a question, that is it starts with an auxiliary verb like does or do. Okay, so the agreement value, agreement feature corresponding to this auxiliary verb has to have the same agreement as that of the noun phrase here. That is, in the case of this flight, it has to be does, and these flights, it has to be do. Okay, so now we might have a question. Where do we get? Okay, where do we get this agreement feature corresponding to auxiliary verb, or where do we get the agreement feature corresponding to noun phrase? So what we said earlier is it has to be built from the lower level up. Okay, say for example, Yeah, determiner is actually a lexical category, right? So it has an agreement associated with it, and it has to be compatible with the nominal agreement of the noun following it. Okay. Now, how do we get these? Where do we start? So we said in the previous example, in this slide, we said auxiliary has an agreement feature associated with it. Auxiliary verb. So where do we start? If it is auxiliary verb do, then you have to assign that auxiliary verb. There is an agreement feature. If it is a number feature inside, this is a path we are specifying. Okay, it has to be plural. And similarly, auxiliary verb agreement feature, if it's person, it is third person singular, and so on. So each of these, it at this level, it is at a lexical level. Okay, from this you can build up. Okay, build up to the higher level to a noun phrase and verb phrase and so on. So that is how you define. Say for example, in the case of verb, serve, it is a verb and it has an agreement feature. The number is plural, or the person feature is singular, right? So from here you have to start, and then using the unification process, you can actually build up. Okay, so that is how.